Hello out there. This is Mitch Goldberg. You are watching a live episode of Be the Boss of Your Money because I want you to be the boss of your money, not your money to become the boss of you. We talk about a lot of things here. This is your place for personal finance, investing tips, business, and other pertinent subjects. We're going to skip the usual, market recap. Suffice it to say, it was another down day in the market, but you can get that elsewhere. If you want to talk to me about that, certainly reach out to me. But more importantly, I have a really cool guest today. This guy is to me, he's just effing cool. Can I say that? Yes. Very cool guy. He is a COO of BLS Limo. I hope I don't butcher that name. He is also the co-founder with his brother Michael of the Okon Bros. His name is Eric Okon. So I have a bunch of questions for him. We're going to learn a lot. We're going to have a lot of fun. Let me just roll the quick intro. And by the time we get back from the intro, he's going to be on the screen and joining us. Stick around. This is going to be a lot of fun. Hey, Eric, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, Mitch. That was a great intro.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you. I've gotten to know you only through social media.
Yep.
We've never met in person.
Nope.
But I think this is just becoming more of the norm these days with the pandemic and no actual in-person networking. But you and I met on LinkedIn. I feel like we've become fast friends. We like each other's content. We comment, and I just feel like you and your brother are just two good guys to know. And I just love it. And I love what you do with your podcast. And I love how you guys manage everything. And it's just fun. You guys some people have that personality. I don't think I was really blessed with your personality, but
well, that's a funny story because I wasn't either. And I was always the behind the scenes guy. And my brother we always say, like, if we were a band, we'd be Van Halen. Michael would be David Lee Roth, kind of controlling the crowd. And I would be kind of the Eddie Van Halen, making the music, doing the stuff in the background to make sure that whatever Michael says happens.
I guess then I would be like the Alex Van Halen in the back. Just give me some sticks. I'll play the drums and
right.
I'll be all the way in the back.
So this was a learned skill for me. I had to learn how to monologue. I had to learn how to do that. And I learned from watching people that were good at it. And you just have to create your own shtick. You have a bag of tricks that you always come back and talk about. And, but thank you, because this isn't easy for me. I had to learn how to do this, like to play golf or something like that.
Okay. I noticed the picture on your on Apple for your podcast. It's a picture of you and your brother, and it looks like you guys are in a golf cart.
Yes, we are.
All right. I can see when you're a golfer, you can spot those little things. Oh, right away, that's a golf cart.
Yeah.
I used to be a golf head. No longer though.
Oh, well, I don't know why I play golf. I'm like glutton for punishment because like I'll have one great game. We only play 9 holes because like that's how much we have time for. Like I can't carve out 4 hours.
Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah, so we'll play 9 every so often, and man, I don't know why I do it. Maybe it's just the exercise.
I do it with my friends because the cracking we do on each other is by far the best part. And I'm sure you understand.
Yeah.
We
100%.
We crack on each other mercilessly. I mean, we get off the course and people are like, wait a minute, you guys are actually still friends? Yeah, we still are. So tell me a little bit about, just real quick, yourself, like the quick bio. And I want to get into what you do with BLS because you're multifaceted. Yes. I got to know you because of your podcast, but really that's more of like your side fun thing right now.
Yeah. I firmly believe that in 2020, if you want to be successful in this world, very rarely can you have one gig. And, I think you have to do multiple things, even as a business owner, even if you're working for somebody. I think you have to get out there and you have to do a bunch of things because there's 24 hours in a day. And, that can include being a father, being a mother. And that's why we're doing the podcast among other, projects that we're always working on. So about me, I'm from Long Island. I believe we're neighbors somewhere along the way, which is cool that we connected via LinkedIn, which you could have been from anywhere, but we kind of live in the same neighborhood.
You're either from the North Shore or the South Shore.
We're
And they're not. And Long Island is a pretty skinny little piece of
Yes,
land.
we're North Shore.
Okay, me too.
It's good. Well, now we're in good company. No, I'm teasing. I'm teasing to all the South Shore people out there. So yeah, I grew up in my family's business. That has been what I've known my entire life. We run a worldwide executive car service where we transport executives, celebrities. We provide cars for premieres. Well, not lately because of COVID-19 and whatnot. But when things get back to normal, we basically drive. We drive people that need to be driven, that have nuanced travel itineraries where they're traveling to 5 or 6 different cities, and there's 8 or 9 people all traveling, and they all have different drivers that they would like, or different preferences, or they're all going to different locations. So it's a very nuanced type of travel that cannot be managed by pressing a button.
This is not Uber really.
Yeah,
doesn't
no.
suffice for this.
Uber didn't affect us. We do have an office in Las Vegas, and Uber did affect us there, because a large portion of that work, it's called door work. So like we would stage cars at Harrah's, let's say at Harrah's Las Vegas, or at Paris, or at the Aria, and typically what would happen was somebody would come out. They would pay cash to the doorman. The doorman would give us money, and then we would then go and take the passenger where they need to go. And that business got decimated by Uber. Very plainly, why you can see that would get decimated. So we shifted gears, and we went more towards the inside of the hotel. But business is fluid, and you have to keep adjusting. But everywhere else, we have 10 locations across the country, with I would say around 1,000 affiliate partners around the world. And we're all connected, and that type of business was not affected because it's nuanced. It's dealt with travel agents and assistants and production
There's
executives.
a lot of travel. It's production. It's events. It could be Emmys, or these aren't live events at the moment. It's NFL teams moving around.
Correct, but we'd be driving
very high end events, parties.
Yeah. We'd be driving the announcers to the football game. Those are the people that we're driving, and that's the type of business that we do. And so growing up, that's all I've ever known. And it was never a question of whether I was going to become a lawyer or a stockbroker or a doctor. I never had any desire. I knew I wanted to come work in my family's business, and I love the energy and the excitement and the people and the travel industry in general. Once you come in, it's very hard to go out. There's a lot of perks that come along with being a travel related company. You get to meet amazing people from resorts, from travel agencies. Like if you're going to Vegas, Mitch, like call us because we're going to hook you up. And like, that's just the way that business works.
All right. So, is there a difference between, like, I don't know your business, but is like luxury travel and business travel, are they similar? I mean, do you have a handle on, is business travel coming up, or is it really, you're not really in that?
We do business travel. We do a lot of business travel. Those are two different segments where business travel and luxury travel do bleed into each other. However, we're not in the front where we're having Maybachs, so to pick people up, so to speak. We're in the front where we are having Mercedes, and but it's the E-Class Mercedes. So there is a luxury element to it because the corporations that we drive, they need a certain duty of care where their employees have to be transported safely, where it's proper insurance, proper COVID-19 protocols. All of those types of things have to be managed for those corporations.
And I noticed a lot of what you do on LinkedIn with your COVID-19 preparations, and the plastic and the sprays and the cleaning. And I mean, it just, man, oh man, it's just an awful lot of tedious, repetitive work. We all have to do it. I really don't like having people up to my office at the moment, but when I do, it's like the amount of work that you have to do to get things ready.
It's very labor intensive, and it definitely takes a village to get it done. And before COVID, we had right around 750 employees, with thousands and thousands of affiliates and affiliated drivers, and so we had a very vast network of partners and employees that would help us facilitate these types of things. Obviously, we had to scale back because people aren't traveling all that much now. they are starting to travel more, and we're prepared to handle them. We thought that we had a big responsibility to let corporations know that there is a safe form of transportation, that having your employees take the bus or having your employees take the train or the subway may not be the best way to get to work right now, and to have a certain level of duty of health and safety is going to be more important, so your employees can come to work in a safe manner.
Manhattan real estate.
Mm-hmm.
You guys do a lot of work in Manhattan.
Oh yeah.
Coming back, you read the articles. David Altucher, James Altucher. Yeah, you read the articles, and it's pretty dead right now in Midtown, in the office complex. Is that coming back? Will people, do you think?
Yeah, I
will
think
travel back to Manhattan.
I think that office space will come back, and I believe so because there was an article, I don't know, maybe last week or something, that JP Morgan said that productivity is down on Mondays and Fridays. And I think working from home looks good on paper, and I think in certain situations it works very well. You have to be very disciplined to work from home. You have to be
Sure.
you have to be a very, very disciplined person to work from home, to separate, from the kids screaming, or taking the dog, taking the dog for a walk. You have to be a very disciplined person. And I would have a feeling that the people who were working remotely before COVID-19 had that figured out. But all of a sudden you had a bunch of people that were pushed into this situation. And I believe that, I think that the larger corporations are humoring everybody for now, until they're going to kick it back into high gear. Like, just as for instance, Reed Hastings, who's the CEO of Netflix, he was interviewed and he said, funnily, that when do you want your employees to come back to the office? And he's like, 12 hours after the vaccine comes out.
Okay,
so
makes a lot of sense.
That's where his mind is at, and I think that real estate is going to come back. I think that I firmly believe that it will come full circle. Not quickly, maybe not now. I think there's going to be bankruptcies, there's going to be foreclosures, but that's going to give new buying opportunities to set up for the next 20 years of.
Okay, so looking at your website, what I love is the Sprinter.
Yeah.
Now you guys I know you guys love the Sprinters, right? And it's just a great vehicle, I guess, for transporting people around.
Sure.
What do you think? What do you like better, the Sprinter, the limo?
I mean,
Cadillac?
For me, my vehicle of choice is definitely an SUV. Like when I'm going on business, and usually when we're going on business trips, we kind of have a whole caravan with us. It's me, my brother, my mom, and then we'll have two or three salespeople, and we'll have an assistant come with us. And so it's a whole big caravan of people that will come selling. And I know when I'm on the road, we like an SUV with bucket seats, and we can kind of hit the ground running there. And you certainly, for a long time, we would actually rent a car and we would kind of do it ourselves. And then as we started kind of posting a lot of content and managing all of that, it became increasingly hard to drive and to post content and to be on the road, because prior to, we were traveling, every 3 weeks, if not more.
So you talk about content. You put out a lot of content. We were talking about that before we started the live broadcast. How much content do you put out, and why is content so important to you? I know this might sound obvious between you and me, but
no. I mean, I have a story behind that. My father passed away February 2018. He smoked his whole life. COPD got the better of him.
This past February
2018.
Okay, I'm very sorry for your loss.
Yeah, no, thank you. And he ran the company in a certain way that was successful. He built a big, beautiful business, but his style of running it was being discreet, not having any salespeople, being completely word of mouth, and just being kind of this mysterious luxury business transportation service that everybody knew about, but no one knows about. And that got us to here, right? But we wanted to be over here, and we realized in order for us to do that, you have to create content. And I found Gary Vaynerchuk through that rabbit hole of content creation.
Me too.
Yeah, no, and he completely changed my view on content creation.
It's like you're having the conversation that I have in my head right now.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And so, it started out where started by, I joined LinkedIn for the first time 2 years ago. All right. I joined Facebook 3 weeks ago. So like
You're
this
kidding
is an,
me.
no, I swear to God, this is an ongoing manifestation of content. Like you can't figure it out all on day one. And, I couldn't, for the life of me, I couldn't figure out how you sell online business to business. I couldn't figure it out. And so what I started doing was I started joining, and then I started connecting with people that that I knew, right? And then I started connecting with people that they knew. And it was all based around the travel community because that's where our bread and butter comes from. And I started out by posting pictures of a car. And then I would post pictures of our porters washing a car. And then I would take a video of an event that was happening, and it was getting likes, and it was interesting, and no one was really doing it back then, or at least in the way that we were doing it. And we were creating a story. And then finally, I kept thinking, I'm like, what can I talk about on the air? What can I sit and talk about? And I got a camera. I got like a Canon camera. I spent a bunch of money on it. I got some lights, and I sat down, and my brother
Which
was,
model? Which Canon model?
oh, I don't remember. And then my brother sat down. He was going to record me. Now my brother has a book career where he's a screenwriter and he's a writer. So the whole idea was that I was going to be the face of BLS, and he was going to be the face of his books, because we didn't want the two things kind of intersect. And then finally, I sat down in front of the camera, and I started to try and monologue, and I couldn't. I couldn't do what Gary Vee does, where all of a sudden he just sits down and he talks with passion, and he's talking about his philosophies on life and how he's successful in business, and his mom and his dad. I couldn't do it. And then finally Michael sat down next to me, and I just reshared one of our first videos last week on LinkedIn and other social sites of how it turned out. And it was just him and I sitting next to each other, and we just recorded. And that's how we began Okon Bros, and that's how we began producing content. And what clicked for me was we were out to dinner, our go-to place, because we'll travel to Chicago, where Miami, wherever, there's always a Palm in those cities. So we took a client out, and we had 20 people in this room, and we were on fire. Like we were just doing our shtick. Everybody was eating out of the palm of our hand, and I'm like, man, if we can do this with 20 people, we can probably do this with 2,000 people if we had a show.
You could scale it up.
You can scale it up. And that's exactly what we did. And we don't talk about how we have the best cars and drivers, right? Everybody has great cars and drivers. Everybody has the same technology. Everybody has the same drivers. Everybody has all of those types of things. So we decided we're just going to talk about ourselves. We're going to pretend that on every podcast that we have, it's like us, that we're going out to dinner with somebody, and we're just going to talk about diet, exercise, kids, the whole 9 yards.
I love it. I love getting the story. And that's, how do you plan out your podcast, or just kind of, it's run and gun? Hey, we've been working all day. We're really busy. We said we're going to do it at this time. Let's just jump on and do it.
Yep. There's no planning when we interview somebody. The only thing I look at is their name, and I look at what their summary is on LinkedIn. Beyond that, we go out of our way not to know anything about anybody, because we just want it to be as natural as possible. I mean, there's a certain confidence that has to come along with that, right? To say, I'm confident enough that we can strike up a conversation for an hour and 15 minutes.
I think it's a really good dynamic when you have a partner, and
yes,
you and Michael have you could tell it's a great dynamic. It's just it's a really nice relationship that you have, in front of a camera, not just, I guess, working together and being brothers, but you could see it on the screen that it's a very friendly, upbeat thing. Let me see. I was going to ask you why you started the podcast, but now that you've already started the podcast, and now that you've already told me why you do the podcast, you said you started creating content. Was it about 2 years ago that you started down your journey?
About a year ago, I started really curating content, where I was being thoughtful about it and mobilizing the team to kind of get me content, because there's only so much that I can do with that. And before COVID, I did have a team of people helping me produce content, and I did have a lot more that I was pushing out. Unfortunately, due to COVID, I can't in good conscience lay off people and then have somebody helping me edit my videos. So I'm doing basically everything myself.
I understand.
Yeah, as far as like creating content, like clips, because that's where the magic happens. It's not so much about the show itself; it's about the 2-minute clips.
Yeah, you and I, we'd actually had spoken about that. We did have a phone call very briefly, actually, and we talked about that. It's nice to get a lot of viewers, but it doesn't always happen. People don't always have the time. Sometimes I find out more people are viewing than what I realize is on the screen, because people say things to me. They will say something very specific that was brought up in a live stream.
Right.
But the magic is when you take those 30-second, 60-second, 2-minute clips for more social media content.
Yep. And that's the hardest part too.
Yeah, it's time consuming, and it's editing.
Yep.
That's where I have a lot of help doing that. So my process is I do the live. My assistant, who's just become incredible she's very, very good with technology, and she is just a whiz now with editing. She picked the stuff up right away.
Yep.
And she takes a look at my lives. She'll run through the transcript from rev.com. She edits it, makes sure everything is spelled correctly, just makes it a nice document.
Yep.
That puts her through the exercise of having to read it and watch it. And then she knows what clips I would want.
Yep. And
then she creates them into that square with the captions and the title. And, sometimes I'll get 5 or 6 or 7 in a week. Sometimes I'll get 2 or 3.
Yep.
And that's my main source of content now.
Yeah. I mean, I was doing, when I was kind of in the full swing of things, I was doing 2 clips per day. I was doing a PDF slide per day where we would take a piece of content and then we would kind of put characters of ourselves, like comic book strips almost. And we put those, if you can get those done, amazing reach. Like I literally took like a stick figure, and then I said, put Michael's and I face on it. So it looks stupid as hell. But when we first got out, those would easily get anywhere from 3,000 to 30,000 views.
That's a big reach. And the reach is only getting harder now on LinkedIn. It seems to be getting a little harder.
That is extremely frustrating. It's extremely, extremely frustrating, the reach on LinkedIn. And that's why we kind of expanded into Facebook. We had business Facebook pages, but we did not have personal profiles on Facebook.
I have a business profile page. Hardly ever use it.
Yep.
There's only so much time in a day.
Yep.
Plus we run businesses, right? So my LinkedIn profile is where it's at. But I noticed, you have like, I looked, you have like 8,500, 9,000 connections.
Yep.
It's a lot of connections. A lot of people. So that certainly is part of it.
Yeah. I mean, that majority of those were handmade. That was me sitting, at 11:30 at night, maxing out my connections. That was a lot of it. There are services out there that automate it for you, and I used those for a little while. But I had to cut back, obviously, because of COVID. And but it's called Cleverly, and they'll make a whole workflow for you where you'll say, hey, and mine was, hey, looking to connect with travel pros. I thought we'd make a great match. Then they would connect, but that was all done automated. And that built up my connection roster pretty well, but now it's all done manually.
You have to work at it, and that's what I think a lot of people don't understand. People like, social media, how to do social media in 15 minutes a day, which is a joke. You can't do it in 15 minutes a day. It takes
it's all day.
I mean, if I added up the time that I am on LinkedIn from when I get up in the morning to when I go to bed at night, and it is my favorite social media site. And I've made a lot of really good friends here, including other financial advisors and people from all over the world in different businesses.
Yep.
I would say LinkedIn easily gets 2 hours of my time per day, easily.
Yeah, I would say that's about right. I mean, it's just in between running my business is when I'm on social media sites. there's not much time else for anything else. I mean, as a distraction, I like going on TikTok for a little bit. I think that's a great app and it's entertaining.
Hmm.
But other than that, like it's all day. There's
You're networking. Look, I'm not going
yeah,
to events, so where's that time going?
yep,
I mean, you know how it is when you network. You could be out, easily 2 nights a week. We
hmm
we both have families, so it's tough to be out. That's a lot to be out as it is,
hmm
but it's an important part of the business development process. You're networking, but that time is simply going into LinkedIn, and I have to. For me, it's effective. I find that I am
So
working with really good contacts.
you gain clients from creating content.
I gain clients from creating content. That is how. I mean, I gain people from clients from meeting them, but
Hmm
it's really the content that brings them in.
Yes.
I'm in a business where people like me, financial advisors, we're a dime a dozen.
hmm
What makes you different? What makes you at least what positions you in someone's mind as someone who's capable, knowledgeable, friendly,
hmm
ethical, all those things? It's your content.
Right.
So I started creating content years ago, and I enjoy it.
hmm
And to me, it's a love thing for content. I love creating content, and the more I can create, the happier I am. But like you said, it's the time. Let me ask you, for mechanically speaking, you've got a very popular mic that you're using. What's the name of the mic?
This is a Shure microphone, Shure, and it's the same one that Joe Rogan uses, the same one that like Gary V uses and all them.
Right. I
So
have
that's
the Blue Yeti. I think it's a good mic. You know what? It was a very good mic when it came out about 12, 15 years
you
ago.
sound fine.
Thank you. But they still use these like crazy. This is still a very popular mic, but it does sound pretty good. I'm happy with it. And what kind of camera do you use on top of your computer screen?
Gosh,
Using a webcam?
no, I'm using a Panasonic.
G?
It no, it's like a camcorder. It looks like a camcorder, and I'm not like a tech guy in that respect. More of like I like software, but like as far as the camera, it's Panasonic and it says 4K on it, but it's like the fake 4K. But it was like $800. So,
Okay.
kind of shot by price with that,
True.
to be honest.
I'm using a webcam, the Logitech Brio,
Oh yeah, I had the Brios.
and it works great. I've got a couple of LED lights in front of me.
Yep.
I'm in my studio, which is really a green screen behind me.
hmm
And the green screen on StreamYard works incredibly well. You don't have to worry about lighting it up perfectly evenly and getting hot spots. I like the way it looks.
hmm
I switch them up.
At first glance, I wouldn't know that was like when I first saw your videos, when it's in like a clip, I couldn't tell that was a green screen. So
I think
maybe that was just
when you
me.
move your hands, whatever, you see there's a little bleed.
Yeah.
One of my lights is not on at the moment, so I think the less
Mhm.
light you have, you start to see a little bleed. You see that?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Mm. I shouldn't do that.
I have one big light and then I have two lights that are right in front of me that are basically yellow, which I think gives me like a little bit of a warmer feel. And then I
Yeah, a little
have one light.
tungsten, right? Hmm.
Yeah, and then I have one light there that's just like a bright white light. And that's pretty much how I spend my day. And what's pretty cool is when we have our client calls, I have the same setup. So they're always like, feels like we're on like a
It's
radio
yeah,
show. That's
my
like,
my office looks like a studio.
yeah,
It really does. I mean, I have the boom arm. It's always attached to my desk.
yeah,
I mean, I'm
yeah,
running
mine.
gun. I put on my headphone. Yep, same thing. And with a click of a button, I'm talking to somebody on a Zoom,
hmm
or I'm on StreamYard or something, and it goes on. All right, so we're going to do something a little different right now that I like to call the lightning round.
Let's
Are you
do it.
ready?
Sure. I like it.
You like that?
Yeah, I do.
I'll do it again for you. Here we go. Okay.
Very exciting.
I think of Young Frankenstein when I see that. I don't know
Oh,
why.
they're
The
great.
movie Young Frankenstein.
What hump?
Okay. Nice knockers. Why, thank you.
You
So-
are kind of Abby Normal.
Thank you very much. What do you think of the word influencer?
I love it. I think everybody has to be an influencer. I think
Right.
everyone has to strive to be an influencer because the world is online. The world is in your pocket, and the loudest is going to win.
Squeaky wheels will get the oil. I figured I would start. I started doing a daily. I do this every day. I started in mid-February when the stock market started going crazy. We had these down 1,000, down 2,000 point days.
Hmm.
And like every day, there was a good reason for me to go live.
Hmm.
Like I'm connected with all my clients on social media. So I'm like, let's do this every day. And so
Hmm.
far, it's for me personally, it's worked out really well. We have a couple of comments out there. Let's see if what they're saying. Okay, we have Yitzchak Leibovitz. Isaac, sorry if I mispronounced your name. He says hi out there from LinkedIn. And Eric, I'm really impressed of you. That's a
Thank you,
very
sir.
nice thing to say.
Thank you, Isaac.
Thank you for watching. Folks, if you have any questions out there, you're watching this in live stream. I should have said this before. Welcome to you. I'm so glad you're here. Ask us questions. If you're watching this in the replay, just ask, welcome to you as well. And just ask any questions and we'll get the alerts and we'll definitely get back to you. Okay. Top 3 things either that you learned about yourself during the pandemic, either in terms of your business or personal, whatever, or
Mhm.
or you can include what you rediscovered or really like about yourself that you want to keep doing more of.
Well, a few things that I learned during COVID-19 is definitely putting into perspective of what really matters. And like it's a horror show, right? Like we're in the travel business, and a pandemic destroys travel. And you would think in your head, before you go to sleep at night, man, what would happen if you lose everything? Well, we lost everything and we're okay. And the main reason why we're okay is because we have our health, thank God. And that's just the most important thing in life. And money, it'll come back.
Money is like the wind; it comes and it goes.
Yep. Yep.
Hopefully, people save some so they can get through this. But we talk about saving for a rainy day.
Yep.
Okay, I mean, when I made my 5-year plan 5 years ago, I did not take into consideration this pandemic. I
Yep.
don't think anybody did.
We have a 5-hour plan.
5 hour energy. Okay.
Day by day.
Favorite influencer that you,
I mean, it's Gary V. Come
Gary?
on.
Yeah, I think that's a
It's no
popular
it's
choice, but
it's
it's a
no
legit
contest.
choice. Look, I read his book, Crush It.
Yeah.
Probably, I don't know when it came out, but I read it. It was recommended to me by a friend in it's probably 2010,
Wow.
2011, or maybe that's when it came out. But I was mesmerized by the book, and it just basically tells you with proof that anybody could be an influencer. I like
Yeah.
to be a thought leader / influencer. I think it's kind of the same thing as what you were saying. We
Mhm.
all have to be an influencer because you all have to have that personal brand.
Mhm.
And you never know when you're going to need to dip into that influence. I look at influence like a bank account,
Mhm.
and I just want to keep putting deposits in,
I love that.
right? And I take good care of it. I take very
Yes.
good care of it
Yes. That's
because
a
I never
great
know when I'm going to need to make a withdrawal.
it's a great analogy. And like you can, it's all about giving value, right? You have to give value to your audience, but it's okay to go in for the kill. And it's okay to go in and say, "Hey, use me." And we've gotten multi-million dollar accounts through our content creation, and there's nothing wrong with that. And
No,
and I
absolutely not.
and if you're not doing it, you're missing out, and you have to try and find a voice. And that's the hardest part. The hardest part is starting. The hardest part is putting yourself out there and saying, "Well, what am I going to talk about?" Just talk about you. Talk about your journey. Talk about
Your
your kids.
story. The journey is a very big word in my life and
Mhm.
my vocabulary. I look at, remember what asked you before, how did you start your content journey? I look at this as my video journey, my content journey, my vlogging journey.
Yep.
And I love taking people along with me. And
And
it's a great feeling.
the biggest thing for me, I think, above all else, is when my parents started the company. Remember talking to Michael when we first started creating content. It was very exciting. We're like, man, I wish mom and dad recorded everything that they were talking about. I wish there was a fly on the wall to say, man, what were they thinking at this time? Well,
Oh,
be careful what you wish for, because we actually got that opportunity because we went down to zero. You know, you lose everything in an environment like this, and we've been recording it every step of the way. If you go back into our podcast, you look up Okon Bros on YouTube, you'll see the start of the pandemic and how we were, you know, navigating through it. How we were, and when we were saying, yeah, we had to lay off people, you know, like, you know, just navigating through this. And now, what I love is that my kids can go and look at it in 20 years, and they can go and see what was in our heads. And they've been on the show, you know, and like I've this guy by the name of Bill Faith. He helps limo companies market their companies, and you know, he's very, you know, Gary V-ish, and he follows that protocol. But I know he doesn't do what Gary V does. He has his own style because that's what his business is. And he actually interviewed my mom, and I got a chance to watch it today. And I can just think that the information that he pulled out of her was so great. And I'm so thankful that he did, because when she's not here in 100 years, I have that video and we have the stories, and they're not going to be lost. And I think that is the ultimate thing that you can get out of this, is that this stream that we have, it's going to be here forever. And I think
Can
that's
you
awesome.
imagine, like, when my relatives came over from Poland and
Yeah.
Russia,
And they're documenting it on their iPhone.
and
Right.
we could actually see what they were talking about and what they did and the customs and mannerisms, and you might
Yep.
say, "Holy cow, that's who I take after." Like that would have been amazing. The lessons that they shared that we could
Yep.
have learned from. You know, last thing, favorite podcast. Do you have a favorite podcast? Or you just
You know, I don't have much time to watch and listen to podcasts. There are a bunch of health podcasts that I enjoy, that I liked watching. When I was losing weight, I lost 100 pounds.
get out?
Um,
Wow.
yeah, I was a big boy. But you know, there were a lot of those that I used to watch when I was in that zone. Um, and you know, I mean, Joe Rogan's great. I mean, I considered Howard Stern a podcaster at this point. But you know, there's only so many hours in the day where I can
There's
avert
only
my
so many
attention to.
hours. And how many friends do you have that are now starting to create content and they
A
want you
lot.
to watch, and you're
Yeah.
like, I mean, I don't have the time. I can't.
That's why you got to make those 30-second clips.
That's why we have to make those 30-second clips. Isaac is back. Eric, I sent you a connection request. He seems like a good guy to connect with. He doesn't
Sure.
overdo it. I can't stand when I connect with somebody on LinkedIn and 5 minutes later you get the solicitation right away.
Yeah,
Isaac does not do that, by the way. So,
no, I don't care. Doesn't bother me.
and do you know Yitzchak Meyer?
No.
Is he one of yours? Maybe he's one of mine. Okay. So listen, I want to thank you so much for joining me. I really found this conversation, I don't know, I found this conversation very, very soothing. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
it was relaxing, and I appreciate it, Mitch. You run a great show, and just keep doing what you're doing.
All right. I'm going to end this broadcast, end it now, and I will catch up with you very, very soon. Thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time.
No,
Thank
that's
you.
my pleasure, Mitch. Thank you.
You're welcome.